Welcome to Brother Owl's Garden. I'm Brian, and I thank you for your presence today. Today I'd like to discuss with you a very high form of prayer. I would probably say that the highest form of prayer is ecstatic unity in divinity. The full presence of your full presence in the full presence of the divine. But what I would like to talk about today is a very simple yet incredibly powerful and transcendent means of spoken prayer. We're not talking about recitation, we're not talking about rote prayers, we're not talking about saying the most poetic things. We're talking about, even though ultimately words can only go so far, it is the intention and also the awareness behind the words that makes them powerful and effective. And also, to some extent, you could say enlightened, in the sense of having transcended lower forms of understanding or misunderstanding. Let me give you an example. A very lower form of prayer would be something like, "Please, God, do this thing for me. Please, God, make this happen the way I think it should happen, and I'll even do this or that for you in return." This kind of, you know, approaching divinity as sort of a wishing well that you can even bargain with. This is really, really low form of prayer. We may have started off there as a kid, but it's long past time to be done with all that kind of thinking. And we have to be careful of interjecting or projecting our own self, our agenda, in a sense, our selfishness, onto our prayers, um, especially when these prayers are requests, which is one form of prayer, but certainly not all that prayer is. Um, and let me exemplify this in the sense of praying for another person. Someone who I love very, very dearly was suffering terribly, and I prayed for her. And this prayer is what evolved out of that situation as my ongoing prayers persisted for her. At first, I started off, I do say God. Maybe you can say divinity, you can say spirit, you can say whatever you like that represents the supreme cosmic consciousness and love. Um, I'll just say God. But the prayers that I started off with were something of the nature of, "Please, God, help her to get over this challenge, cure her, heal her," all this kind of things. And this was very pure intentions. But the prayer itself was a little behind the level of understanding that I had reached at that point in how divinity operates and how we operate within divinity. And sort of halfway through this, several weeks of constant prayer, um, I realized that I was praying that my will be done. I was praying that what I see as her ideal picture is what I want done. And there was nothing wrong with wanting that, but there was a higher level of understanding waiting for me to cross into it. And that higher level of understanding involved a letting go of the need for what I think is best to be the outcome. Some people use the word surrender. I have a little bit of issue with that particular word because you always govern your free will, and you either assent or dissent. But surrender has some sort of defeat woven into it in my mind. And so, I find myself grasping for the right word. Maybe I could say relinquish the need for control. That's not necessarily defeat. But let's just say let go of the need for what I think is the solution for that person to come to pass, and for that to be my prayer. So instead, I found myself very relieved and very enlightened as a result. My burden was lightened during the prayer, and it felt absolutely attuned and aligned on a much higher level when I prayed for whatever is her highest good. I divert my energy, not even divert, I contribute my energy toward the completion and manifestation of her highest good. Whatever that is. I don't need to define it. I don't need to insist it's this or that. That's actually getting in my own way. And after a little bit of polishing and a little bit of further meditation on that realization, it came to me. And it is the way that I close all of my videos. When I pray for someone, I pray in thankfulness for their highest good, in the most benevolent outcome of the divine will. At the level that I'm at right now, I have not reached a higher, purer understanding of prayer. So this is the best that I'm at right now. If there is higher and more to come, it will come in due time for me. But I share this with you. When you pray for someone, pray in thankfulness. Why in thankfulness? Nothing happened yet. That's just the point. Praying in thankfulness from the get-go, from the beginning, on the front end of things, exhibits and demonstrates absolute trust, unquestioning trust, and abiding in that trust restfully. That trust in divinity, that trust that your prayer is what shall be. You haven't defined the terms, you just want it to have those qualities. You don't need to describe what picture that is for someone. You just need to establish that that is what that you are praying for them. And you're praying in thankfulness because that immediately sets the right tone of humility and trust. And also, thankfulness has a way of being rewarded by divinity, by the universe. So thanking and being thankful up front, it's almost like a pay it forward. You're not doing it as a bargaining leverage. You're doing it because it demonstrates your absolute unquestioning trust in the ways of divinity in this situation. So you're praying in thankfulness for their highest good, whatsoever that shall be. Whatever that is, it might be better than what you could have thought for or asked for. And you're acknowledging the limitations of your understanding of the potential of divinity. So their highest good, in the most benevolent outcome, it couldn't have turned out any more helpful and good for more people more intensely than that. Of the divine will, not my will, but the will of divinity. Because you are acknowledging that it is superior to whatever individuated self-will you may be, even out of the highest nature of your heart. Divinity can probably come up with something even better. And it's not demeaning to you. It's deference to the absolute omnipotence of divinity. So when you pray for someone, don't say, "Oh, please, Spirit, would you fix that certain thing for them in this way and make it go like that? And I'll even be a really good person for 2 months," or something, in response to that. You know, this is not a pure prayer. A pure prayer is thankful, abiding in trust of the highest good of the other person in the most astonishingly benevolent way that the divine will could play out. That may also involve some pain, suffering, or unexpected results. But in the end, what came of that, that is what explains it, makes sense of it, makes it understood and worthwhile and benevolent and incredible. And so when you pray for someone, you pray in thankfulness for their highest good in the most benevolent outcome of the divine will. And how does this relate to you in your everyday living? Just change one word: abide. Abide means to dwell restfully and peacefully in trust, to abide, and also enduringly. So abide in thankfulness for your highest good in the most benevolent outcome of the divine will. Make this the mantra of your every breath. Live this. Exude this. Become this. And shine this for those around you who will see.